This is Get Inspired with Dr. Barb show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. As always, we have incredible guests on our podcast, and today is no different. We have someone very special from Finland, and her name is Johanna Järvinen-Taubert. I could my friend already, I hope. We've been interacting on several occasions, and we were also able to actually meet in person when I was visiting Finland and learn a little bit more about educational system in Finland last year. So it was fabulous. Welcome to the show, Johanna.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I'm so happy to be here.
I am just as happy, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate it too. I would like to just say a couple of words about you because you are an educator, but you also are now more in the area of teacher professional development. And I know that you are pedagogical director of LearningScoop, correct? And
Right.
that's a company that has been active for 11 years. So that's quite a bit already, I would say.
Yeah.
And the mission of the company is to really train the teachers, but also train a lot of teachers from the outside, from all over the world, who are interested in finding more about the Finnish phenomenon in terms of education. And I know that that means that some of these teachers, they are coming to Finland to visit. And in some cases, you travel and also train beyond Finland. But also, there is another initiative. You have an amazing app, and this app is another initiative. You are also a pedagogical expert, Ray, in relation to the app. So we can talk about the app a little bit later. And you also are an author of a book, and the title of the book is Finnish Education in Practice: What, Why, and How. And that was published not so long ago in 2021. So if anybody wants to learn more about, after this conversation, about the Finnish education, they should reach out for that book. And if anything else you would like to mention as far as your activity, please do so.
Well, I think that was rather comprehensive indeed. Thank you for introducing me. Yes, it's true. I've been around in the field of education for several decades already. First, here in Finland, I was a teacher myself.
Yeah.
Then I worked as a university researcher. And after that, a teacher trainer actually in two Finnish universities. I've been really interested in learning in particular. And that led me to think how we could help the teachers around the world. And me and my colleagues, we established LearningScoop, as you said, 11 years ago. So I'm one of the co-founders of that company. And since then, we have been training teachers from over 70 different countries already. So that's quite a lot. Yeah. And people, of course, they hear about Finnish education, they get interested. As you said, some of them travel to Finland, but we also travel to other countries. And in addition, we also offer webinars and online courses and such. So there are like multiple ways we try to reach educators around the world and help them, because our own background is in education. We know what the work of an educator or a teacher is, and we really want to share our experience and expertise if that could help someone.
That's amazing. I like how you said that it's important to try different ways. It's the trips that you welcome of teachers and administrators. I remember when I was there in one of the high schools, there was a group from Africa. So we were all just kind of like also interacting with each other too, taking pictures and all that. It was just so cool because you had an opportunity to really feel like it was a multicultural sort of experience, right? And we were all coming there for one purpose, to learn more about Finnish education while also learning about each other, what we're doing there, where we come from. It was really very, very, very cool. But I agree with this. And there is no way of reaching more and more people if we don't think of different ways, more innovative ways. Boy, it's not easy. It's not easy to
Yeah.
reach people.
Yeah. Yes, and at the same time, I feel that education is something that we share around the globe. So actually, for me, it's been really surprising to realize how similar challenges teachers face in different countries and in different contexts. The education systems can differ a lot, but there are still some basic elements we are struggling with no matter where we are. And one thing I would really love to emphasize is that it's not like people come to learn from us only. We learn a bunch of things from people we interact with. So I think Finland is gaining as much as anyone else here because we get to meet passionate and talented educators from so many different countries, and they have their experience and their expertise, and they are sharing their ideas with us. And I think that's the way to go. That's how we raise the quality of education worldwide. We share, we learn from each other, and like together we can make changes happen.
I love this idea because even though Finnish education is so amazing and I've learned a little bit about it, like you said, everybody always has more room to grow and learn. And you too.
Absolutely. Our system is far from perfect. There's so much we still need to improve, and there's so much we can learn from other countries. And one of the things regarding Finnish education that people often don't know is that that's how we created the phenomenon, the Finnish education miracle, by taking ideas from other countries. To be honest, there are very few things we invented ourselves. So we were curious, we learned about how education is organized in different countries, we took different ideas and we applied them in a way that suits us, that is feasible here in our culture, in our context, and what works for us and for our students. And that's how we, little by little, developing education here. So
Yeah.
Finland is actually a perfect example of learning from others, indeed.
That's amazing because we have so much to learn from others and this learning is available. And I think sometimes the biggest problem in education and educational systems is that we are not learning from what's already available. It's kind of a phenomenon itself, right?
That's a very good point. And I think that there's already like great experiments done all over the world we could learn from. And I would also like to emphasize the scientific research because education, learning and teaching are studied a lot around the world. And there's quality research available, which actually gives us directions that this really works. This is how people learn. This is how we can help them to learn better. So we don't have to like invent something ourselves from scratch every time. There are so many good ideas available. But what really strikes me is that, I don't know, education in many countries is somehow very rigid, very into the old way of doing things. And people are scared to try something new. And I'm not saying that teachers are scared. I find actually the teachers very, how can I say, innovative and ready to try out new ideas. It's rather those who design the education system or education policy that are really struck into the old ways of doing things. And that's what in many countries restricts what can be done with education.
Exactly. And actually, in this conversation, you are sharing right now what is some major difference between Finnish education and education in other countries. And I also would like to add that what I saw myself, and that made me think how different this education is, that you kind of, in this education of children, sort of going back to the basics. So kids have opportunities to interact with nature and learn from that. And with that comes more sort of peace. It helps with mental health. And it is amazing because, again, this is something that's available. Teachers around the world have this capacity, I would think. I mean, every environment is different. Every school is a different town, different village. But there is resources there is natural environment that really can be brought into the school, or the other way, school children can be taken out of the school, out of this physical building, right? And have some experiences in the nature. If you could talk a little bit more about this huge, I think it's a huge aspect of the Finnish education.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's some of the things I'm really excited personally. Well, I think nature in general has a very big role in Finnish culture. So there's a lot of nature around us. Obviously, here we have a lot of forest in Finland and
Yeah.
so forth. So it comes very naturally. But at the same time, we have a lot of, once again, research backing the idea that it's so good for the students to go outside to the nature and learn things there. So I would say in Finnish primary schools, on a weekly basis, the students go out to nature to learn things. And very often there's a forest nearby the school.
Yeah. Wow.
But of course, we have urban schools in the city center.
Yeah.
And even in those environments, teachers take their students either to the parks nearby or they take a bus and they go to the forest, because there are so many things we know it really promotes. It's especially good for children who are having some kind of learning difficulties, or for example concentration issues, or things like that. So as you said, nature really calms students down.
Yeah.
Nature is a very positive environment. You can experience like joy and achievement and even success in nature. There's so many things you can do, you can observe. It's very giving, I would say, and somehow fosters collaboration very naturally. So when we take students to learn something in a forest, for example, they naturally start collaborating. They start helping each other and asking questions and interacting with each other. So I think it's we can see the impact nature has on learning all the time. And I know you know this already, but maybe it could be interesting to your audience that we have, for example, in Finland, we have daycare or kindergartens groups that work entirely in nature the whole day, every day.
I didn't know that to that
You didn't?
extent.
Okay, that's all right.
Amazing.
Yeah. So the children are usually from 3 to 5 years old, and they spend the entire day outside in nature.
Wow.
So they do everything there. They have their lunch there. They take their naps
Oh, I love that.
in nature, and all the learning activities. Of course, we have certain objectives for the early years as well. All the learning objectives are learned in forest or in some natural environment. And children absolutely love it.
Wow.
Parents love it. So parents are queuing to get their children into these forest groups. And I once met a young dad who was coming to pick up his daughter from this forest group and asked him that why did you want your daughter to be in this group? And he was like, this is the best. She learns so much. She's so
Wow.
confident and self-directed, and she's never ill, because it's a boost for their immune system.
Yeah.
Being in a nature. So he only saw like pros in her daughter being in that group. He was very convincing. I don't know. It's I think it's something that I really encourage teachers to try out. I know it can be scary at first if you don't have a model how to do that. And you can start like doing small steps. Like first, do you have any nature in your schoolyard, for example? We can go and investigate that. What about the park nearby? Can we go and have a look at that? What kind of plants can we find? What kind of animals, insects can we find there? Birds maybe, and so forth. And like expanding the experiences little by little, you can start to see how the students are reacting to this connection with nature. And I know from my own experience and what I've heard from other educators, it can be pretty remarkable indeed. So that's something I warmly recommend.
Look how simple the strategy is. Take the children to the forest. I know that many schools have nature around them. Not
Yeah.
every school is in the city. There are trees, so there is always a little bit of nature, or in many cases there is, but it's not as often utilized, right? And like
Yeah.
you're saying, while it might be totally scary to like all of a sudden switch to taking kids to the nature for the
Yes.
whole
Yeah.
day, it can be really, really very overwhelming for the teacher. Um, but
I wouldn't
yep,
recommend taking the
yep,
whole day.
right away.
I think start with 15 minutes, or if you have
Yeah,
half an hour
yeah,
and then a lesson, and maybe a double lesson sometimes. But I think it's also a learning experience for the teacher.
it
So
is. It is.
what can we do there and what can we learn there? Okay, it's nice to take a trip outside, but how can it be connected to the curriculum and
Mm-hmm.
all the learning objectives or standards or whatever we have? So that requires some thinking, but I will guarantee it will be rewarding. And you can see the difference in students. That's what the
Yeah.
teachers very often tell me. The students are much calmer. They actually behave better, and they can concentrate in learning. So all those
Mm-hmm.
are reasons to take the children to nature.
It is amazing. Such a simple thing. Yes, it requires a little bit of thinking on the part of the teacher, but I remember we hope we do it in the spring now. Once it starts getting a little bit warmer here, we hope to incorporate with the classroom that I go to with my therapy dog. We hope to take like a little trip there in the forest with my dog, Carmel, so there can be this learning about what they do, how they investigate nature, and also observing how the dogs do it, because dog will do something different, right? So they can compare these
That's a
things.
great idea.
Sniffing,
Yeah.
the dog will be sniffing everything. These
Yes.
kids probably will not be sniffing much, but they can learn a little bit from my dog.
Absolutely. I think that's actually an excellent example that the dog gets so much information
Yeah.
from being outside. That's actually the major source of information, all
Mm-hmm.
those wonderful smells there and what they tell you. Of course, we don't have that ability, but yes, we can definitely learn how they act and enjoy
Right.
themselves in
Yeah,
nature.
not every classroom has a therapy dog available right away.
Yeah.
But if it's possible, then why not? The therapy dog does not have to be in the classroom all the time. There can be this kind of a trip where they all can kind of learn from each other. They can learn so much from the animal that is
Yes,
naturally curious about everything, right? In the environment. Awesome.
exactly. I'm
And yeah,
actually
yep.
very happy that you mentioned the weather, because I have noticed that the weather is very often an excuse. We have such a
Yeah.
bad weather, we cannot go. If I may remind you that here in Finland, bad weather happens quite often. So our teachers take children to nature, no matter if it's raining, if it's
Wow.
snowing, or if it's minus degrees. When the temperature goes below minus 20, I mean, it's
Celsius.
below Celsius, yes, correct. Minus 20 Celsius, then we might stay inside because it's not nice anymore. But it doesn't matter what kind of weather you have, you just need to have proper clothing. So if you know that it's going to rain tomorrow, make sure that your students have proper
Wow.
clothing for that.
I
What
don't
we
want to
don't
speak.
have here is extreme
Yeah,
heat, though.
yeah.
So that's
I don't
that's I
want to.
cannot comment.
I don't want to speak about every classroom, every school, every teacher in this country, United States, but I'm afraid that the weather excuse happens very often.
Well, we
And
hear it often from our visitors, and they are amazed that it's look at the weather and you're still outside, and we are like, yeah. So,
why are
yeah,
you asking? Why is this so strange?
yeah, yes, indeed.
This is an amazing lesson. I mean, for anybody to learn, and I know there might be some convincing to do between the teacher and administrator, because you have to get administrator approval,
Oh,
and probably speaking with the parents too, this is what I'm planning to do, because you have to have parental awareness, especially when they're not used to something like that. But why not to try something like that? I have no idea if kids are taken outside in the United States anywhere when it's winter. I have no idea. It would be interesting to find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yes, and I do understand it. It's a different system when you have to
Yeah.
ask for permission, and it takes more arrangements to make it happen. I think if you are planning to do that, I think gathering very good arguments for why we are going to nature first
Yeah.
is a good idea. And if somebody's interested, there's so much also research available on that topic. So that's why this is beneficial for the students. That's why
Mhm.
it's promoting their learning, their well-being, their mental health, so forth. And these are the reasons why I want to take the children to nature. Here we don't have to do that because, well, it's such a big part of our education system in general. And
Yeah.
also the teachers, they have a lot of autonomy, so they can just decide to take their children outside and they don't have to ask for permission.
Yeah.
But
I
even,
remember
yeah,
I
yes,
remember in the when my daughter was in the younger grade, sort of they were going, I think, outside in winter a little bit, maybe not every day. It was a little bit, but then often these things are going away when kids are growing up, like in middle school already. This was not happening anymore. So
yeah,
these teenagers were already in the inside, and all the way now to high school, they are not going out ever,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, to be honest, it also is not that regular for the older students in Finland either,
Hmm.
but they still do it. It's not like they never do it, but I think younger students get to go to nature much more often.
Hmm.
And that's maybe because the class teachers who are teaching the younger students, they have more flexibility in how
Yeah.
they are arranging their lessons and so forth. When you have like subject-based
Yeah.
timetable every day, it's a little bit more challenging. But I know that teachers in what we call lower secondary school and in high school, they still take their students
Wow.
outside to different environments, but not that often as the younger ones.
Yeah, but at least they do get a chance to do that. So that's remarkable. I wanted to ask you if maybe there would be any teaching strategy or activity that you could tell us about. And let's say whoever's listening, it can be a parent or maybe a teacher, they could possibly like do it tomorrow in their classroom if possible.
Well, I actually discussed this with my colleagues, and what we realized is that there are not that many, how can I say, Finnish methods, because
Hmm.
actually many practices or teaching methods are very universal. So I think if you come to Finnish school, you will notice many familiar things happening there.
Yeah.
But then I came up with one idea, and I hope you're not disappointed because
Never.
it's not directly connected to teaching, but it's about having a break because that is actually very Finnish. So in Finland, if I may explain it a bit, we have a system that after every 45 minutes lesson, there's a 15-minute break and
Wow.
and or recess. So after every lesson, students go once again, usually outside, and they have a break. They have a recess, and
Mm.
for 15 minutes they can do whatever they like within the rules of the school, of course.
Yeah.
Still, they are playing with their friends, they are talking, they are having a good time, and it's been like surprising how rare breaks or recesses are globally. So it seems to be like in many countries, there's a lesson after lesson after lesson. And
Mhm.
that's you cannot get backup from scientific research for that because it's very clearly proven that having breaks actually promotes learning. Once we had a group from principals from Los Angeles visiting
Mhm.
us. They were very inspired by what they saw and experienced, and they decided to try out a couple of things when they go back home, and they did.
Wow.
We were very grateful to hear about their experiments, and they kind of reported back to us. And they said that one of the things they did first was to arrange the school day that there are several breaks in between the lessons. And they said that the impact on learning is amazing. They will never go back. And that's what they told us. We were like, yes, thank
This is
you.
amazing because you're not just saying something that I don't think this is happening anywhere here in the United States. Again, I don't know, but like every 45 minutes, a really cool break. And the fact that they did it, they tried it,
They did it.
and they reported that there is actually results that are good results, positive results.
Exactly. And they said that children are absolutely loving it. Teachers are loving it because they see how it impacts the children, that they can focus better, they learn better, they can see better learning results. Parents are loving it. They see that the children are enjoying going to school much
Yeah.
more. And also that if they have this extra energy in their system, they can get it out during the breaks. And when they go back to the classroom, they can focus on much better. And the reason why we were so thrilled to get this feedback was that it shows that it's not about Finnish environment, Finnish education system. This simple strategy works in other countries as well. And well, when I was writing as one of the authors of the book Finnish Education in Practice, I actually looked up research done about recesses. That research was done all over the world, and the results were like all the same. It promotes learning, it promotes well-being. So I think this goes somehow back to one of the cornerstones of Finnish education, which is less is more. Somehow we have gone into the thinking that if we have longer lessons, if we have more lessons or longer school days or more homework or more tests, children would be learning better. Well, they are not.
They're not.
They are not. Less is more. So having 45 minutes effective teaching and learning and then 15 minutes free time is better than having 60 minutes of teaching.
I love this is such a simple strategy. Teachers could implement it. I think and also see results themselves too. Children need to move around a little bit. They can't just switch from one subject to another and we kind of pretend it's okay. And then we end up just probably reprimanding them for not listening or not paying attention because how can they, right? So it's really then hard on us as teachers when we don't give them those opportunities.
And I think we should be more interested in how our brains work. And we should be interested in research done, like neurology and things like that, how our brains work. And it's been proven that the brains need breaks. Even us adults, if we want to be effective, we need to take little breaks and then continue. Then our brains can get a little rest and then go forward. And I think breaks and recesses are essential for children. They are very important for us adults as well, for the teachers. I'm also very concerned about the well-being of teachers. They need breaks as well. It's actually very consuming to be interacting with so many people all the time and trying to teach things and take care of everybody and take different aspects into account. It's a very challenging job. So teachers need breaks as well.
That is so very true, so important. And again, like you said, there is research available that tells us about it. So it's like, why do we ignore things that we already know? I'm just loving this conversation. We might have to do another episode sometime, Johanna, because we can learn so much. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. We would like to make sure that we have a little bit time for you to tell us about the amazing app that you have co-created with others, because there is a team. If you could tell us the name of the app and some just major underlying idea beyond that, what it does,
Yes.
what kind of philosophy is behind that project.
Yes, thank you. I'm
Sure.
happy to tell about that. So the app is called Lesson App, very simply. And Lesson App is for teachers for lesson planning. So it's a lesson planning tool, digital one. And when we have been training teachers from different countries and around the world, we realized that they were very often overwhelmed with so many different tasks. And even though in many cases they knew what kind of things they should be implementing into their lessons, they were so overwhelmed with all the different duties they had that they didn't have the time or energy to really look for quality ideas for their lessons. And that's what led us to think that, okay, how can we help them? And we
Mhm.
got this idea of creating an app that would actually make it easy to implement things we know about learning and teaching and how to effectively apply those principles in your lesson without having to do extra work or looking for ideas. So the app would give you ideas for that already. So what is in Lesson App, it guides you to design a pedagogically smart structure for your lesson based on the
Mhm.
principles how people learn, how students learn, and then it gives you a bunch of ideas of different student-centered and participatory teaching methods that you can use in your lesson while teaching certain things.
Wow.
And Lesson Up has more than 150 different student-centered and participatory teaching methods, and they are all described in detail. So the idea
Yeah.
is that you could easily find a method suitable for you. You can use different filters to find
Mhm.
suitable methods for your subject, for your age group, and so forth. And also that those descriptions of the methods would be so detailed that reading through, you understand what is done here and you're ready to go. You're ready to apply it in your own lesson. Some of these method descriptions also have a video showing that this is how it works. And that's what we have got a lot of positive feedback from teachers. Because yes, there is, of course, teaching methods described and you can find them online, but it takes some work to find them if you want to
Mhm.
find like new methods you're not using already and new ideas for your teaching. And then how do you know that this really works? It sounds nice, but is it really working?
Yeah.
We chose only those methods that we know for sure that they work. They are used not only in Finland, but in many other countries. And there's research done about those methods. And there's plenty more
Yeah. Yeah.
invested up, but these type of things. And the bottom line is to help teachers and make their work easier and at the same time raise the quality of lessons if possible.
This is amazing. And of course, I will make sure that I will include all those links to your social media platforms and also to the lesson app. If you could tell us now where the audience can follow you, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, personally, I'm in LinkedIn if
Mhm.
somebody wants to find me there. And our companies, LearningScoop and Lesson Up,
Yeah.
they are both in Instagram, in Facebook, in
Yeah.
LinkedIn. You can find us there.
That was amazing. And I think we'll have to sometime get together again to learn some more about Finnish education, because every time I connect with you, I learn something new.
Thank you.
Welcome. And it's just so wonderful to talk about it, because I think that we just need to empower more teachers. I think if teachers are more empowered, that is also going to maybe help. I believe in that, in the change of educational system, because who teaches? Well, the teachers do. Nobody else does.
Yes.
And I believe they do have more power than sometimes they exercise. So I'm just so grateful for this episode, for the fact that we could connect. And I want to tell our wonderful audience to please be sure to connect with Johanna and follow her, learn more about Finnish education. They doing things that are not very complicated, actually, right? Based on what you've
That's
heard
correct.
today, they are just so simple. It's just that we either forgot about that we could do something like that, or maybe never tried, or a whole host of other reasons. I'm not sure. And make sure to please follow the show, Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. We will have more wonderful guests. But it was just absolutely, absolutely incredible to talk to Johanna. And I say Johanna, but Johanna would be more
Yes.
Finnish way.
Both
And
work.
thank you so much, Johanna, for this wonderful conversation.
Well, thank you for this amazing opportunity. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and I think that everyone can see it's so easy. The discussion just flows and so forth. And I was very happy to be part of this.
Me too. I just loved it. It was amazing, Johanna. Bye-bye for now. Thank you so much. See you later, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. This is Get Inspired with Dr. Barb show.